Women of color would often prefer to have a white man as their manager, as their boss, or even as their coworker over a white woman. We know this because women of color have been saying this. I made a video about this in response to another creator who made that statement. So it's got me reflecting over the past few days about my own experiences in the workplace with white women. And I have a lot of stories from the corporate workplace, but this story that I'm about to tell you comes from when I used to be a nanny. And I'm very aware that in many circles I would be considered white passing, but white women, specifically in the workplace, certainly do not consider me their own. So this was at a time where I was really broke. Like, I was working maybe 3-4 jobs at a time. I was responsible for family financially. I was dirt broke, and I would pick up nannying jobs. And I've done nannying jobs for all kinds of families, middle class families, upper middle class families, but this is the first time I was dealing with a family that was really, really wealthy. They had just bought like an $8 million home. It was a level of wealth that I was not used to be honest. So I go on this interview. I'm asked to play with the kids to kind of, for the mother to see how I'm interacting with the kids. The kids like me, but she's kind of, and she was already being condescending at this point. She's kind of like asking me in a condescending way, in a rude, like, I can't explain it because it was tone of voice. It wasn't actually what she was saying, but she's asking me where I went to college, what my degree is. I'm telling her, you know, I'm college educated. I went to this college. I'm telling her all this, and she likes me, but she tells me that there's another candidate who has a master's in education that she's considering. Fine. She calls me a few days later. She tells me that they decide to go with the other candidate because she would prefer a nanny who has a master's in education. Great, bye. She then calls me a few days after that, telling me that the other nanny, I guess either they tried her out and it didn't work out, or she left, I can't remember. Which to me now, looking back, I'm like, that's sort of a red flag, but I didn't think of it that way at the time. And I go and I work for a few days. Now, I'm like 4 days in, her kids are a nightmare, like a complete nightmare. And I've dealt with like active kids who've had trouble in school, but like her kids are like really mean spirited. Like, they're saying things about other kids that I've never heard kids say. Beyond like kid bad, it was more like, oh, you've heard this stuff being said in the home, because otherwise how do you know these words? So on like my 4th day on this job, she comes in, I'm with her kids. She comes in, she's like, oh my God, I just hit your car. And she's not apologetic about it. Like, she bumps into my, I guess with her car, she bumps into my car. She completely pushes it in. It's like beyond a dent that they're gonna just like push out. I'm gonna need a new door. She's not apologetic. She's more like, we'll figure it out. Don't make a big deal out of it. Like, that's the energy I got. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna help you. No, it was like, I hit your car. It was very matter of fact, which already was rubbing me the wrong way. And that same day, I used her car to run errands with the kids. So I had errands to run. I think her son had soccer. I had to go drop things off at the post office. And so I used her car to do these errands. She was using her car before I get in the car with the kids. And I guess she had left her phone in the car. I come in with the kids. I'm carrying her kid. I'm carrying these, like, I'm trying to buckle them in. I get in the driver's seat and I put my bag right away into the passenger seat where I guess her phone was. She had forgot it. I didn't notice this. So I go on about doing the errands. I take whatever, an hour, 2 hours, however long it was. No issue. I'm not thinking anything is wrong at this point. I get back to the house after I finish those errands. I come in. She's running at me, screaming, like hysterical. How could you not notice that I forgot my phone in the car? I was worried sick. I thought you had taken my kids. Screaming, like bawling, like sobbing. It was, I come in, I don't even know what's going on. I'm like, why is she freaking out? I did not notice that her phone was in the car. It had fallen between the seats and I just never noticed that it was there. I go on about my errands. I come back home and this woman is losing her mind. She starts like yelling, shouting at me, calling me names, saying that her kids were unsafe around me, that I'm irresponsible, that I should have called in the middle to check in on her. Like, I don't know, she's a full-grown adult. Why would I assume that this woman forgot her phone in the car? I'm in so much shock. Like, I'm usually a loudmouth and will say something back, but I think I was in so much shock that I just stayed quiet. And all I said is like, I would like you to pay my last check because I'm not gonna work here anymore. And she's sobbing. I cannot explain to you how hysterical she was. The only thing I can say is that if someone was passing by, we were outside at this point, like at the driveway, If someone was passing by, they would assume that I had like kidnapped one of her kids and was holding them ransom or something. She was hysterical. So I take my last check and I say, you need to pay for my car that you ruined. So let's figure it out with insurance. She's like, no, please, let's not get insurance involved. I'll pay you. I tell her basically like, I know where you live. I'll be back in like a week, figure it out. Well, I'll go to my mechanic. We'll estimate how much this is going to cost, and whatever it is, you're going to pay. At this point, she is not like, she's just incapable of realizing that I have just quit. So she thinks that I'm still working for her, and she's still yelling at me and basically telling me that I'm irresponsible, that I should have checked in multiple times during this hour-and-a-half errands run, that I should have noticed that she had forgotten her phone. Anyways, her husband was not home at this time. I left, I go back home. In my mind, I've quit. Her husband calls me the next day, basically apologizing for her behavior, begging that I come back. And I'm adamant, I'm not coming back. And also, why isn't she calling me apologizing? Does she have too much pride for that? I basically tell him like, your kids are not behaved well. Like, I was really mean at this point. I was like, your kids are horrible. They're the worst kids I've ever dealt with. Your wife is condescending. He's like, well, how was she condescending? I give him all these instances. He's debating about whether his wife is condescending or not. But at the same time, they're still holding on to their story that I'm horrible, that I'm irresponsible, that I put their children in danger, don't know how, and that they still want me to come back, which is like, pick one. Like, did I put your kids in danger? Am I irresponsible? Am I the worst nanny you've ever met? And yet you still want me to take care of your kids for the rest of the year? And how I leave it off with her husband basically is that I'm a terrible person because now they've lost a nanny and the school year had started, and and I should know how hard it is to get a good nanny at this point late in the game. Not that his wife acted in a way that I could not tolerate, that no one should tolerate, and that it was their fault that they lost a nanny. No, we left it off that I am a horrible person. Not only was I irresponsible for not noticing she left her phone in the car and that I was putting her kids in danger, but also I was a horrible person for not wanting to come back and take this job, stay with this job, because now they're screwed for the rest of the year. And then to end it all, she would not pay me money to get my car fixed. She would not pay for the estimate. So I had to track down insurance. And then we were working out through our insurance companies. She was denying this claim. So it took forever to finally get paid for her ruining my car. Like, literally, it was a mess. But this all goes to say that this was the first moment that I realized, because I did think of going back. Like, I really needed the money. I remember what was going through my mind at that time was like, she forgot her phone in her car. I took her car to run errands, which is what I was supposed to do. She wanted me to use her car because that's where the kids' car seats were. I did not notice that her phone either fell through the cracks or I put my handbag on top of it, didn't notice. And I was blamed. I was allegedly putting her kids in danger because of that. That's how far, that's the leap that she had to take. That she got in the car, forgot her phone in the car. I got in the car to drive her kids. Somehow it became my responsibility that I did not let her know that she forgot her phone. And somehow that the conclusion of that was that I had put her kids in danger and that I'm irresponsible. So in my mind, I was like, if she could take that leap, I kept telling myself, what if you go back and God forbid one of her kids falls, as kids do, and scrape their knee or something? Would she try to say that I did it on purpose? And it was just like the first moment that I realized how capable some people are of weaponizing their tears. And like, I'm a crier. I cry all the time. And I cannot express this enough that if you were a bystander, judging from how she was acting, if you were a bystander, you would assume that I am a monster that hurt this person's kids, that this poor woman is spiraling because I did something horrible to her family. That's how she was acting. It was a level of spiraling that I had never ever experienced up until that point. For me, it just felt like either you are making this performance so that I can feel guilty, or you genuinely are crying hysterically over this and losing your mind, and so that makes me doubt how you are able to live in this world. How are you able to deal with real things? Because this is not an appropriate reaction to what happened, in my opinion. And I remember at the time I thought that she was trying to manipulate me into believing that I had done something wrong so that she can like establish the power dynamics right off the bat, which like they already were. I work for you. But now I when I reflect on it, I'm like, she believed herself. I think she really thought that I had put her children in danger. And that is really freaking scary. That is a really scary thing to think about.